Good morning, all. Welcome and thank you for joining us. You're watching Open Studio right here on Cape Town TV. My name is Danny Campbell. I've got Moeshfieka with me in the studio, who's from the National Date Advisors, and she's here to speak to us a little bit about everything that's got to do with date and date reviews. So, Moeshfieka, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Danny. Good to be
Oh,
here.
oh, you're welcome, and thank you for making the time to come and speak to us, and advise us as to how we can really manage those incomes. But before we go into that, for those that's watching you for the first time that do not know you, can you just give us a little bit of brief about yourself?
Well, a little bit about myself. Currently, I am the personal finance opinion writer for the Daily Voice. I'm also, in my main capacity, head of research and consumer education for National Debt Advisors, which has been voted the number one debt counseling company in the country. I have also been in charge of a project set up by the Department of Trade and Industry and the Credit Ombudsman to look at the accessibility of financial information to ordinary South African consumers. Because what we find is that there's so much information out there, but nothing that normal ordinary people on the ground can understand. There's so much jargon, there's so much intimidating words, and that pushes people further and further away from finding solutions to debt, which is a real problem right now.
Yeah. So what got you interested into dealing with debt, Mushika? Were you in debt yourself maybe, or just, eventually wanted to take on?
Like many women in South Africa and around the world, I found myself in a situation where I was divorced with two young children. I didn't know much about finance. I didn't know much about debt and debt management. With the result, after my divorce, I was sitting with an overwhelming amount of debt, not knowing what to do, not knowing what my rights were. And at that point in time, I then decided, you know what? If I'm in this situation, there must be so many other women out there in the same situation, also not informed, ill informed, not knowing which way to turn. And it was then that I then decided to get into the debt space. And like I said, over the years, I have been writing a lot about debt, doing talk shows about it, doing radio, doing television, about debt. At one point in time, I was doing a Cape Town TV show called The Flip Side of the Coin about debt. I was also the national consumer debt expert for SABC2's financial literacy campaign. So it's my mission and goal to get people as informed as possible about debt, their rights, and their options. Because Danny, you know what? So many people are in such a dark space about debt, and they don't know where to turn. And that's not a good place to be in, specifically when there are options available.
Well, I mean, you've been in the industry for such a long time. What would you say has been the most common mistakes or the most common issue you have found amongst people that are living with debt right now?
Well, like I always tell people, denial is a river in Egypt. It shouldn't be part of your financial regime. Many people um, wait until it's too late. They wait until their options run out simply because they're in denial, simply because they are denying the fact that they cannot cope with their debt. They are denying the fact that they have a bad financial situation at hand. When you start taking from Peter to pay Paul, when you start skipping your monthly repayments, when you start taking from your food money and your electricity money to pay your debt to keep the sheriff away from your door, then you've got to know that there is a problem. And the quicker you acknowledge that problem, the quicker you can find a solution to the problem.
Wow. So, as a youngster, I've also come across many lectures about debt, and some people reckon that, debt is good, when looking into building a credit score, and some say that debt is bad. What will you say? What is debt?
Well, debt, if it's manageable, is perfectly fine. Debt, if you can manage your debt, if it doesn't take over your life, as your way of living, if you've got a debt ratio of, say, 25%, if you've got a ratio which is perfectly affordable to you, where it's not a stretch, where nothing in your life is compromised, then it's fine to have then fine, because your debt is manageable. It is when you cannot cope, it is when your debt becomes overwhelming. And you're a youngster, and if you could only know how many people I have come across who have come straight out of matric, straight out of a diploma, straight out of some tertiary education, started to work somewhere earning 6, 7, 8,000 rand a month. 3 months after working and earning money, they've um, got every store calling them, offering them retail cards. They've got every bank offering them credit cards. They go and they take vehicle finance, and they do get themselves into so much debt so quickly. It snowballs. It snowballs, and we have to guard against that. We have to literally say, what can I afford? I cannot be affording 7,000 rands worth of payments when I'm only earning 6,000 rand a month.
Yeah.
So we have to guard against debt overwhelming our lives. Yes, like you just said, there could be good debt, especially if you want to build a credit profile. But come on, Danny, let's not fool ourselves. I don't need a 20,000 rand phone to build a credit score.
Yeah.
I really don't need to be buying name brands to be building a credit score. So
Yeah.
we also have to be honest with ourselves as to why we are getting into debt.
Yeah. Wow. Like I like how you say that we have to be honest with ourselves, because as youngsters, when you're stepping out of university, stepping out of schools, and you've got so much money coming into your bank account that you haven't had before, you tend to go into that rush, and you want to get everything. So how would you say, what are the steps into managing your money, especially when you're a youngster?
Well, I am a firm believer that you have to budget. As boring as it seems, you have to budget. And I'm still very old school. I don't believe in doing a budget on a PC. I don't believe in doing a budget. Please, the worst thing to do is to do a budget in your head. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Take a piece of paper. Literally take the piece of paper and a pen and write it down, because you connect. You
Yeah.
connect from the brain to your hand, writing it down.
Yeah.
Write down exactly what my income is. And then the most important thing, Danny, is to be completely and brutally honest with yourself when you get to writing down what your expenses are.
Yeah.
Don't write down entertainment 200 rand when you know for a fact you spend more than that on entertainment for the month, because at the end of the month your budget is not going to be compatible with what money is actually going out, and you can say, oh no, this budget doesn't work. The budget only works when you are honest with what you put in.
Yes.
Something that we also have to acknowledge is that we must put in everything into the budget.
Yeah.
Danny,
Well,
do
thank
you know
you.
why so many people run short of money at the end of the month?
Yes, ma'am.
Because they forget to put bank charges into their budget. So when their bank charges come off, and your bank charges might be 129 Rand or whatever your bundle is costing you, but
All right.
that 129 Rand that you didn't put into your budget is your last day's worth of traveling money to work.
Well, Moeshfieka, just hold on to that thought, because that is a very important topic, and I want us to have enough time to speak about this. We're just going to go into a short break, and when we come back, we really want to tackle that topic of saving and managing those money. So for those that's watching at home, I urge you to not go anywhere. We'll be back after this. Hello guys, welcome back. You're watching Open Studio right here on Cape Town TV. My name is Danny Kambo. I've got Moeshfieka with me, and we're speaking about everything that's got to do with debt and debt review. Alright, so earlier on we spoke a little bit about her background, how she got into the industry, how long she's been in the industry, and all the effort she's done in trying to bring the message across to young people and people of all ages as to the importance of saving and budgeting. So just to continue with our conversation, Moeshfieka, you mentioned the importance, of budgeting and also really being honest to yourself. If you can just go on with that conversation for those that's watching.
Yeah, it's important that you be honest with yourself. It's
Yeah.
important that you put down everything that you do spend. Because, come on, it's not going to make any sense for you to be writing down, oh, I only spent 200 Rand on entertainment, and I only spend so much on cigarettes, and I only spend. If it's not a true reflection of what you're spending, how do you think it's supposed to budget? How do you think it's supposed to marry up to your income and your expenses? So
Yeah.
you have to be honest, and you have to be brutally honest with yourself. And something that I urge people to do: make the effort to find out what your repayments are on all of your accounts. Make the effort to take out those bank statements, whether they come to you via email, whether they come to you in the post. Take out the store card statements, take out the bank statements. In the right hand side in the corner, you'll see there's an interest rate shown. So if you are paying something that has an interest rate of 29%, and you've got something that has an interest rate of 12%, but it's the same amount outstanding, you pay the one with the highest interest rate first,
Yeah.
because that is the higher your interest rate, the more expensive your debt. But if you don't make the effort to do and go and write that down and say, these are my store cards, this is who I owe, this is my personal loan that I took, this is my credit card, this is how much the interest rate is on this is how much months I've got left on this. We have to take the effort, we make the effort. We cannot just stand back and say, oh well, I'm in a bad financial situation. We have to make the effort to take responsibility for our finances.
Yeah. I mean, something very important that you mentioned now is the interest, because some of us go into these things blindly. We don't even think about the interest rate that's charged on it. Just because I want this phone, because I want this car, you go for it because you've got the finances at the moment, but you don't think long term based on interest, like you mentioned. So just to focus on that point, interest. What is interest for those that's watching? That's also battling and understanding what that is.
I mean, make a simple example
Yeah.
as to what interest is. Sorry,
Sure.
so that you can understand it, because I don't like all this jargon. I don't like it. I'm going to make it simple.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
taken
Yeah.
out you want to buy you want to buy a TV, right? You want to buy a TV. You go to the bank and you say, you know what, I want to take out a personal loan, and I'm going to buy the TV. The TV costs 3,000 Rand, but I want to take out a personal loan of 5,000 Rand, so that I've still got a little bit of extra money to play with, right? Great stuff. 5,000 Rand at an interest rate of 24.5% over 36 months. At the end of the day, you'll be paying over 10,000 Rand back on the 5,000 Rand that you've borrowed. And
Uh,
that is interest. And that is something that we must know before we do that. We need to equip ourselves with as much information as possible.
Wow. So you might be in a position where you have to pay double back than what you borrowed.
That's most of the loans that we take out, most of the yeah, that's what it is. That's how banks and organizations make money.
Wow. So that was more speaking on a personal side, when you're wanting to get out there, getting those credit cards, phones, cars. So what advice do you have for someone that's a small business starter, someone that's starting a small business and they're also thinking of taking out that loan? What are the stumbling blocks that they must look out for with interest and also, how can they manage the money correctly so that it does not bite them in the long run?
Well, small businesses often get help from if they are in a fortunate enough position to have all their documentation in place. Small businesses often get help from banks, often get help from organizations. But what I would say is that a small business, the first thing that they should do is to invest in getting everything in order.
yeah.
Get your registration documents in order, get your BE certification in order, get exactly draw up a roadmap, draw up a business plan. And yes, you can get somebody to draw up the business plan for you and you can
Yeah.
pay them, but there are also numerous business plans for free on the internet that you could follow. but also make sure that you know exactly what your business is about. You cannot ask people for money to support your business. You cannot ask people to loan you money for your business, or ask the public to support your business when you are not sure what your business is about.
Yeah.
Sit down again, make the effort. You know what? Find out what is your market, segregate that market. What is the product that I'm selling? Where am I going to sell my product? Is the market open to my product? Is my product a niche product, or is it a common product that I have to find a new angle of selling it at? Things are difficult, and COVID-19 and lockdown, the subsequent lockdown, and the interruptions in incomes, and the loss of income has had to change the way that we think. It's changed the way that we think. It's changed the way that we think about money. It's changed the way that we think about business. And it's also changed the way in which we deal with our money, and that in which we do business. But so the best advice that I would give to a small business is to know your small business. Know exactly what you are, who you are, what your business is, and then take it from there.
Yeah, and I mean it's all about getting your things in order. Getting like you mentioned that the papers, the. I was thinking, when opening a business account, which is also a issue that many people face. What would you say is the correct way in going about opening a business account?
Well, it depends on the institution that you're going to open the business account with. And this is again, I say to people, ask the questions. When you go into the bank, I often find people going into the bank, Danny, and they're scared, and they 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 feel shy, and they almost feel like they're a burden and they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. The banks are simply a service provider. We are their clients.
Yeah.
We are the clients. They are supposed to give us service. Find out, ask everything. And if you don't like the attitude, or you don't like the answers that you are getting, you have the right to say, you know what, lady, sir, I'm not getting joy from you. I want to speak to somebody else. Do
Wow,
not
Moeshfieka.
stand back.
Yeah,
Do
wow.
not stand back. Ask the questions.
Yeah,
Oh
no,
wow!
wow.
Thank you again for that input. I think this is also another topic that really needs to be tackled on its own. So we're going to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to discuss everything that's got to do with business accounts and small businesses. So guys, we're not going anywhere. We're back after this. All right, guys, welcome back. You're still watching Upper Studio right here on Cape Town TV. I've got Moeshfieka with me on the studio, and we're speaking everything that's got to do with date and date reviews. All right, just to continue with our conversation, we spoke a little bit of, how date has been a problem to many people, especially youngsters that are going into this big world, really not being informed as to how they can, watch out for these lions, as we call them, that's coming for them. And yeah, Moeshfieka is really putting us on par with what it is that we need to know and how we should view things. So Moeshfieka, thank you for that once again, and thank you for coming to the show.
It's a pleasure.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. So just to continue with our conversation, as you mentioned, in assisting personal date reviews with working with people, working with youngsters, or people in general. So how do you help these people? If I had to come to you and say, this is my problem, what kind of solution can I expect from you?
Well, it depends very much on what your problem is. The first thing I'd ask you is, again, let's have the conversation, but be honest. It doesn't help you want to find solutions to a problem, but you're not honest about the problem. And you'll never you'll never be able to think how important that is. I get to a lot of people, and people, no, it's not so bad, and I can still go. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, things are falling apart. So first off, be honest. If you are being overwhelmed by debt, if you are not able to pay all your accounts, if you are not able to afford all your basic necessities because of your debt, then obviously you have options like debt review available. Debt review is a debt relief option which is regulated by the National Credit Regulator. Now, at this point in time in my life, I am not interested in fly by night solutions. You know what? We've all been there. We've all had people say, oh no, we can do this and we can do that and we can do this and we can do that. Pay us this and we'll do this and we'll take your name off the credit bureau. Can't happen. You know what? If you give us X amount, we can remove your data from the credit bureau. If you give us so much money, we'll remove your judgments. Those are scams. Those are scams. I am, at this point in time, I'm more interested in debt solutions which are regulated by government, debt solutions which are put in place through the National Credit Act, and debt solutions which have been found to be tried and tested and work. What I do like about debt review, specifically for those who have assets, is that through the National Credit Act, once somebody is placed under debt review, their assets are protected from repossession. So if you have a home, if you have a vehicle, if you have been placed under debt review, no creditor can touch that. Specifically if you have a granted court order in place. What debt review basically does is, I've got 5 creditors, 5 stores, personal loans and credit cards. Currently, I'm paying them each 200 Rand a month, which means I'm paying 1,000 Rand a month. But I just can't afford 1,000 Rand a month. So what then happens is, your debt counselor, please make sure that if you go under debt review, you use a registered debt counselor, a debt counselor registered with an NCR, so that you know that everything is above board and your money is safe. So your debt counselor will then say, okay, you're paying 1,000 Rand a month for these accounts. We restructure it down to 500 Rand a month. We give you a 50% discount. We'll restructure 50% down from what you're paying. So instead of paying 200 Rand a month on every account, you'll pay 100 Rand a month on every account. The repayment term might be longer. The interest rates will be lowered. But it just gives you a little bit of breathing room. It gives you a little bit of space where you can breathe and get your finances and get your life back in order. Debt review is not for everybody, but it is a viable solution. And again, I am urging people to find out what their options are. Yeah. I cannot say to you, go and do debt review. Don't do debt consolidation. Don't do this. If I may, I've written numerous blogs all over the place, but I've written it for national debt advisors. So if anybody wants to find out any more information on personal finance, on where to go and what to do and all the things that affect your life, you can go to www.nationaldebtadvisors.co.za. Under the blog section, there is so many articles that I have written. You could also go to the Daily Voices page, type in Erek your check. That's the column that I write on personal finance. There is enough information out there to guide each and every one of us to making the best decisions possible for our unique situation. But we have to make the effort, Danny.
Yes, we have to make the effort. Thank you for that. But something that you mentioned now that I took interest into is the difference between debt consideration, if I'm not mistaken, and debt review. What are those different? Because I've heard those two terms before. I'm sure there's probably some viewers that have also, and you just don't know what are the difference.
Sure. Debt consolidation is where you take, you owe perhaps on all your debt, you owe this creditor that much, that creditor that much, this store that much, this bank that much. And say, for instance, all of it comes to 10,000 Rand. Yeah. So what happens is you then go and you take one consolidated loan for the 10,000 Rand. The problem comes in if you have been falling behind on your accounts already, if you can't manage all your debt already, you need the same criteria to apply for a debt consolidation loan as what you would for any other loan, which means that if you have skipped payments, if you have had legal action taken against you, it's probably too late for a debt consolidation loan because you're not going to qualify. Your credit record is not going to make you qualify. And then also debt consolidation loans also have quite a high interest rate. And something that sometimes a lot of people ask me about this. So if I take a debt consolidation loan and that loan I have to pay off over 36 months, but I've only got 6 months left on paying this particular account. You know what? So again, you have to weigh up the options. You have to equip yourself with the knowledge which makes you able to give the best, the very, very best solution for your particular financial problem.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that insightful information. So for those that want to get a hold of you, that wants to come out to you and want to that seek your services, how can they do so?
Well, like I said, go to nationaldebtadvisors.co.za, www.nationaldebtadvisors.co.za. You could also just send me an email at Moeshfieka, and it's Moeshf for Freddie, IEKA at ndadc.co.za.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Moeshfieka. It's been a pleasure having you on studio with us, and thank you for all the information that you've shared. That really opened my eyes to a lot more, and I'm sure for those that's watching at home, it has done the same for you too. So thank you for choosing Open Studio to be part of your morning, and yes, thank you so much, Natasha, for a good interview. For now, from the Cape Town TV crew, it's goodbye. For those that's watching at home, thank you so much, guys. Till next time, bye-bye.